Welcome to the Money RX for CRNAs podcast, where you go behind the scenes with host Brett Fellows, CFP, as he explores the unique opportunities and challenges facing certified registered nurse anesthetists along the path to financial independence. In each episode, Brett shares expert insights and actionable advice, equipping you with the tools you need to take control of your financial destiny and retire on your terms. And now, here's your host, Brett Fellows.
Welcome to the Money RX for CRNAs podcast. So if you haven't already heard me say it, I believe that Roth IRAs are the best place for a CRNA's retirement nest egg. And the good news is that this year's market decline has just put them on sale for you. What I mean by that is that the decline in the stock market means that the account values for traditional pre-tax accounts like IRAs and 401ks and 403bs will be lower in most cases. And so when the value of assets like stocks and funds fall, the taxes on conversions to Roth IRAs often drop as well. And there's a greater potential for future asset growth and withdrawals that are tax-free. And the stock market will rebound at some point, so CRNAs will be doing the conversion at a bargain rate. For example, if a CRNA converts $25,000 when shares are at, let's say, $100 each, they will convert 250 shares, or 5% of their portfolio. Conversely, if a CRNA converts $25,000 when shares are at $50 each, they will convert 500 shares, or 10% of their portfolio. Now, in both situations, converting $25,000 in each, you will have to pay income tax on that $25,000. But in the second scenario, converting after your account value has fallen, you are converting a larger portion of your portfolio. And the whole reason a CRNA would be converting money to a Roth IRA is to be able to withdraw it tax-free in retirement. So converting when the market is down allows the CRNA to convert a larger portion of their account for the same cost. You'll pay income tax on the $25,000 either way. Still, the big question is how much do you have to pay to get it? So for today's episode, I'm going to dig in and review what's involved with actually doing a Roth conversion, and why a CRNA would want to convert to Roth, and when it's the best time to consider a Roth conversion, as well as some pitfalls to be aware of. So a growing number of CRNAs that we work with have opted for Roth IRA conversions in the recent years. In fact, the number of Roth conversions has doubled between 2020 and 2024, according to the IRS. And this, of course, was before the stock market began to decline after last year's presidential election, which I'll talk about in a minute. But let's first take a step back and review what's involved. So in its simplest form, a Roth conversion is moving pre-tax assets from, again, perhaps a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. Both accounts will allow you to have tax-free growth, but they do have significant key differences. With traditional IRAs, CRNA's contributions are often tax deductible, and therefore withdrawals after age 59 and a half and older are fully taxable at ordinary income tax rates like CRNA's wages are currently. Traditional IRAs are made up from annual contributions from CRNAs on an annual basis. And they often include rollovers from their business retirement plans like simple IRAs, 403bs, 457s, and 401ks. So these IRAs, come retirement time, can be very large. Now, here's the kicker for CRNAs in retirement. A traditional IRA's owner must begin taking distributions from the account beginning at age 73. Now, this is what's known as required minimum distributions, or RMDs for short. And since the account can be quite large, let's say at age 73, well, then the required withdrawal from traditional IRAs increases each year. Now, in one respect, these increases could deplete the account over time. But what I see from our CRNA clients, because we've planned for their retirement income from multiple sources, and again, this can be from things like Social Security, maybe rental real estate, or savings from outside of the retirement plan, that more often than not, because these traditional IRAs remain invested in the stock market, they actually aren't depleted over time, but they continue to grow. So if they continue to grow, and the required withdrawals increases each year after age 73, well, guess what happens to the CRNA's tax bill? You guessed it right. That increases too. On the other hand, with Roth IRAs, the contributions are made in after-tax dollars, but the withdrawals can be tax-free. In addition to that, Roth owners don't have to take required minimum distributions during their lifetime. So currently, IRS tax law allows CRNAs to convert traditional IRAs to Roth IRAs by moving assets from one account to the other and paying tax on that amount of the transfer in the year that it happens. Now you can imagine, if you're not careful, this tax bill can be pretty stiff, and there is no guarantee of future growth to assure the CRNA that expediting these taxes actually made sense. But converting when stock prices are down, like they are presently, puts more income beyond the reach of Uncle Sam if prices recover and grow. And guess what? They always have. So there are many factors that come into play when determining whether a Roth conversion makes sense. To help CRNAs decide, here are some key issues to think about. The first is the issue of tax rate at conversion versus tax rate at withdrawal. So what I mean by that is if a CRNA believes that the tax rate on the Roth IRA conversion is lower than what they believe the tax rate will be when they withdraw the funds for retirement income, well, then that weighs in favor of the Roth conversion today. But if the tax rate at conversion is higher than the expected rate at withdrawal, well, then that obviously weighs against the conversion. So CRNAs should try to do the Roth conversions in lower tax rate years. And for most CRNAs that we work with, those lower tax rate years happen in what we call the gap years. And what we refer to as the gap years are when, let's say, a CRNA has retired and they're not yet taking Social Security retirement income, nor are they taking required minimum distributions. They're living off of either personal savings or other income sources. So in these gap years, a CRNA could potentially have little to no tax at ordinary income tax rates. And so for this reason alone, we recommend that this is the perfect time to do a partial Roth conversion over these several years to avoid income that pushes a CRNA into a higher tax bracket later. Meaning we may convert however much is necessary to not push a CRNA above, say, a 22 or 24% tax bracket. But if their taxable income from that year is well below those percentages, well, then we'll definitely go ahead and realize that tax now, again, without bumping above those brackets, by converting funds to Roth. And we do this because we believe that when they start taking Social Security as retirement income and required minimum distributions, which are all taxable at ordinary income tax rates, they're going to be in a higher tax bracket than they are presently in the gap years. So if we were to wait and convert to Roth at that time, well, then we could potentially be bumping the retired CRNA into a 32% and or 35% tax bracket. So if a CRNA were going to consider a Roth conversion, I would want you to pay tax on the conversion at, say, 12, 22, or 24%, as opposed to 32 or 35%, right? Now, the next issue is the asset prices, which is the main point of this episode. But lifetime taxes are too important that I have to cover those first. But the lower the stock market prices are, the lower the tax bill on a Roth conversion often is. So I hope you can see how tax brackets and asset prices can have a huge impact when looked at together for Roth conversion. So this is a boon for CRNAs, especially when prices of stocks will recover and grow. So let's do the math on this again. However, this time, let's look at a larger account balance that has been reduced due to the stock market, and what would be the actual tax savings. So if a CRNA's IRA investment account was originally, say, $1 million, and they wanted to convert 100 shares currently worth $200,000. But the stock market declined by 25%. And that $200,000 earmarked for conversion is now only worth $150,000. Well, the CRNA could convert and only pay tax of $36,000 at the 24% tax bracket on the $150,000 conversion of the 100 shares. However, if the CRNA would have converted prior to the stock market decline, they would have had to have paid tax of $48,000 at a 24% tax bracket on the $200,000 conversion of the same 100 shares. So by converting 100 shares while the market was down, the CRNA saved $12,000 in taxes by converting in the down market. And most custodians, now these are the financial institutions that are holding your money, like Charles Schwab or Fidelity Investments, will allow you to convert holdings from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA in kind, meaning you don't have to sell a position to cash in their traditional IRA and then repurchase the same holding in your Roth IRA. You can literally move them from one account to the other. Now, this strategy only works mathematically if you pay the tax from a side account of cash. If you pay the tax directly from the conversion amount, if you take this approach, then there is absolutely no tax savings generated if the conversion tax is paid prior to the market recovering. So this is a very crucial point to understand. If the money you use to pay the tax liability also participates in the stock market's downturn before it has any chance to recover, then you miss out on any tax savings benefit. Therefore, no matter when a CRNA converts in an up or down market, there is little to no tax advantage to converting under this scenario, especially in a down market. So the only sure way to get a tax benefit when doing a Roth conversion, again, especially in a down market, is to use cash to cover the conversion tax. This ensures that you, the CRNA, will always receive the maximum tax benefit available. And sometimes there are some state and income taxes to be aware of as well. State and local taxes on traditional and Roth IRA contributions and withdrawals vary greatly. So we have to take them into an account when analyzing a conversion. For example, we have a soon-to-be retired CRNA who plans to leave a high tax area in New Jersey for a low tax one in Florida. Since Florida has no state income tax, for this client, we will recommend that they move before doing a Roth conversion. Having tax-free Roth IRA withdrawals also help some CRNAs minimize other taxes or surcharges, such as Medicare Part B and Part D premiums that rise as income does. And this can also help CRNAs stay below the $200,000 if single, or $250,000 if married filing jointly, threshold for the 3.8% surtax on net investment income. Now, the next issue I want to talk about in regards to when to consider Roth conversions, and you're not going to see this one coming, is estate planning, especially for non-spouse heirs. So the Secure Act, signed into law in December 2019, eliminated the ability to use the stretch IRA tactic to pass accounts to most non-spousal beneficiaries in the past. Now, present day, these beneficiaries will need to withdraw the funds from the inherited IRA account within 10 years. And that means pay taxes on them. Versus before, we were able to stretch out an account withdrawals through the use of required minimum distributions over time at their age. With the new law, this could result in a larger percentage of the account being subject to taxes that ultimately diminishes the benefit to these beneficiaries. But if you convert some or all of a traditional IRA account to a Roth IRA, this can be a tool for CRNAs to consider passing this money on to their non-spousal beneficiaries in a more tax-efficient way. While, yes, the CRNA will need to pay taxes on the account in the year of the conversion, and when it's done, their heirs will have the opportunity to withdraw the funds on a tax-free basis. Another way CRNAs can get more money into Roth, other than through conversions, is through what's known as a mega backdoor Roth, if they have a 401k from their employer. So a mega backdoor Roth offers the opportunity for some CRNAs to contribute up to an extra $46,500 for 2025 via their 401k, if their 401k allows for after-tax contributions over and above the employee contribution limits. Now, these limits are $23,500 for 2025 and $31,000 for those who are age 50 or over. Again, I want to state this. Your retirement plan must allow you to make after-tax contributions, and the plan must also allow in-service withdrawals. Once you know that you can do these, then this is how you set up a mega backdoor Roth. First, the after-tax contributions. As I mentioned, these contributions would be over and above the employee deferral limits. So for 2025, the total amount of combined employer and employee contributions allowed is $70,000 and $77,500 for those CRNAs over age 50. And actually new for 2025, if you are between age 60 and 63 by the end of 2025, you can save an additional $11,250. So this brings your total contribution limit up to $81,250. So this means that the maximum amount of after-tax contributions is the difference between the maximum limit and the maximum deferral limit. So again, for 2025, the amount is $46,500. That's the $70,000 IRS maximum limit minus the $23,500 IRS deferral limit. If your plan offers an employer match, your maximum after-tax contribution would be reduced by the amount of the match. Next, the in-service withdrawals. And the Mega Backdoor Roth works best if your plan offers in-service withdrawals without restriction. So this feature allows CRNAs to roll their balance over or withdraw some of their or all of their account balance while still an employee of the business. So if your plan allows both after-tax contributions and in-service withdrawals, here are the steps that you as a CRNA can take. Step 1. Figure out the maximum amount of after-tax contributions that you can make and ensure contributions are made to a traditional account on an after-tax basis, not to a Roth option within the plan. Once you've made the maximum after-tax contribution, you'll want to withdraw this amount as a rollover or conversion to a Roth IRA account. The conversion will not be taxable unless there are earnings on this amount. Those earnings, of course, would be considered pre-tax and subject to taxation. Now, I must say that the number of CRNA retirement plans that I have seen that offer both the ability to make after-tax contributions and do early withdrawals without restrictions is relatively small so far. So as an alternative, if a CRNA's plan doesn't allow for in-service withdrawals, you can allow these after-tax contributions to accumulate until you leave your employment. Again, the earnings attributed to these contributions will likely add up to a more significant amount, adding to the taxable portion upon rollover or conversion to a Roth IRA account. However, you'll still have the benefit of any growth on the conversion amount being in the Roth. And you can, of course, withdraw that growth tax and penalty-free later. So for those CRNAs for whom a Roth conversion already makes sense, you might say converting during a down market makes sense too, because the reduced value of your holdings will likely increase significantly as the momentum swings upward. This way, by the end of the year, your converted money could be worth much more than the amount you had to have to pay taxes on. And again, the only sure way to get the tax benefit when doing a Roth conversion, especially during a down market, is to use cash to cover the conversion tax. So don't get spooked by this market that we see declining and forget about doing a Roth IRA conversion. With prices down, your upside could be terrific. On the other hand, don't rush into a conversion willy-nilly. This move is never appropriate for some CRNAs and not a sure thing for everyone. I hope you found this episode really helpful and valuable, and thank you for listening to this episode of Money RX for CRNAs podcast. If you enjoy the show just as much as I enjoy creating it for you, then I'd really appreciate you leaving a 5-star review, perhaps wherever you listen to your podcast. And while you're there, why don't you subscribe to the channel so that you never miss a future episode? It really does help us. It helps the show. Plus, it makes it easy for other CRNAs to access the content that we're creating week in and week out. And finally, if you want any more information on what you learned about in today's show, or to find out how to best pay less in taxes, invest smarter, and retire on your own terms, click the link in the show notes now and learn about how we work with our awesome CRNA client community. Until next time, make it a great day.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. This podcast does not engage in rendering legal, financial, or other professional services.